And I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about what we've done to help our members reduce waste, and then how we've worked with others in the industry to collaborate and make sure that we're reducing waste industry-wide. So to start off, I was just going to explain a little bit about the National Restaurant Association's environmental arm, which is called the Conserve program. We started this a couple of years ago, and mostly it started out as an environmental initiative to save energy, have energy efficiency, water conservation, and things like that. But we quickly learned that food waste was one of the biggest topics we kept hearing about. So what we did is we created a brand new website, and I can go to the website later if you want or have any questions. But under the Learn page, there's lots of different resources for restaurants about how to reduce food waste. There's a whole section on it, and we have lots of videos and best practices in the area of reduction of food waste from experts. We also have conversations. They're called Conserve conversations, and some of our blogs with industry leaders, and some of them are specifically around food waste. And we also have a section called Ask the Expert, which we think is very helpful. And under that, there's a lot of questions and answers about if a particular restaurant is trying to figure out what to do. We send it to the expert that can answer that question. So sometimes I might be the expert, and sometimes I definitely might not be, but I can find somebody in the industry who can answer it for them. So that's a great thing. And then the last thing that we've been working on is a monthly newsletter that we send out from the Conserve program. It's called Bright Ideas. It's under, if you go to our website at restaurant.org/conserve, under Bright Ideas tab, you can sign up for that, and I hope you all can go there and sign up. And you can learn more about what the restaurants are doing in this area and how to get more involved. So the other thing I wanted to mention to everyone is we just came out with a new report last week. And so we just did press around this, but it's a brand new report from our association. We surveyed about 1,000 operators, some quick service restaurants and full service restaurants. And we did a lot of different questions in sustainability, but some of the most answered questions and most picked up questions by the press were the food waste questions. So we did this survey, and you can see from the response, most people are tracking their food waste on a regular basis, or at least tracking the food that's coming in. I'm sorry, most people are tracking actually the waste that's going out. They're not tracking what's coming in, and we want them to do that more. And lots of people donate leftover food, 25% and 20% of the full-service restaurants donate leftover food, but we can get those numbers much higher. As you can also see, the composting food waste, there's not a huge percentage of restaurants that compost, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but we really want to make it a goal of ours to increase those numbers so that we can compost more and donate more. Sorry, I'm going to the next slide. So the next thing I wanted to share with everyone is that the National Restaurant Association is also working in a partnership with two other associations, the Grocery Manufacturers Association and the Food Marketing Institute, and an organization we've called the Food Waste Reduction Alliance. Some of you might have heard of this, but the Food Waste Reduction Alliance was started a couple of years ago to really share best practices and move the industry forward to reducing more waste. A lot of the companies that you'll be hearing from today, some of them are on the Alliance, and then some others might be on the call today listening. But our shared goals are really to reduce food loss and to prevent it in the first place. And then secondly, any food that you can't lose at the beginning, or you can't prevent the loss from source reduction, we want you to donate that food to people. And then lastly, to recycle the unavoidable food waste. So that would be composting or anaerobic digestion or any other method. Here are some of the members of the Food Waste Reduction Alliance. We call it the FWRA. By the category, you can see that each industry has a varied group of people that are companies that are working on it. And Feeding America is also a part of it. Waste Management and Food Donation Connection, that's on the call, is also a strategic partner. So in the toolkit, you saw a couple of slides ago, there was one of the big deliverables from the Food Waste Reduction Alliance has been a toolkit that we put out this year. And it basically kind of goes through each category or each industry and tells groups what they can do to reduce food waste, and has lots of great examples and videos, links to helpful information that people can do. The main thing that we want to make sure everyone knows is how to get started. So one of the first things is, we encourage all industries, or all companies, to conduct a waste characterization audit. In the food industry, sometimes, we call that a waste audit, or waste assessment, or tracking your waste. But that's the first thing you always have to do to find out how much you're bringing in, how much is, going out, so you can establish some standard procedures, which is the second part of that, is you want to establish standard operating procedures to make everything in line and kind of like a well-oiled machine to make sure everything works well. That goes everything from ordering food to the way you cook everything, to how you dispose of it, how you train your staff. All of that would be in operating procedures. And then lastly, you would want to develop or strengthen relationships with the people who can help you reduce food waste. So that would be your haulers, your waste providers, and the donation agencies. And a lot of restaurants use Food Donation Connection, strengthen that relationship, or Feeding America. There's a lot of different food banks out there that you could work with as well in your local community to figure out where to send some of that food. Another part of the toolkit basically goes through all the barriers that exist for our industries. So this is the manufacturing and retail wholesale. You can see from this that we surveyed the industry, and it basically showed us that there are a lot of barriers to, this in particular was donation. There's also a section on barriers to recycling. But if you look through this, there are, some real, barriers that people don't know how to overcome, and so the toolkit goes through each of these and kind of gives suggestions and advice about how to overcome each one of those with specific examples. This is just to reduce food waste in the first place, to reduce generating it. I put up what most food service companies need to think about. And so food service companies, and Christy Cook is on the call as well. In a minute, she can talk more about this. But whenever a restaurant is thinking about how to reduce waste, they think first of the supply chain. Like, should I buy things that are recyclable or compostable? And if you're in an area that you can compost, then sure, that's a great way to start. Is looking through the entire supply chain. Operations is another big thing we ask people to always look at, and that's, staff. All your employees should be provided with as many reusable food prep items as possible, and clearly marked containers for compostable and recyclable materials. A lot of restaurants will have one big bin, sometimes it's green or brown, and they know that's the place where you put, compostable materials. And then you want to have a lot of good training. Big signs up, or you want to have meetings around training to make sure your employees really know what's going on. I think that is one of the biggest things we've heard from restaurants, is that when your employees are on board and they know they're making a difference or doing something that they feel is important, the programs really take off, and it's been really rewarding for them. And lastly, facilities, you want to make sure you're hauling services, that you talk to them, and you make sure you understand what can be reused, what can be recycled, what can be thrown away and composted. This is just one example I wanted to show you from a company that we're in partnership with called LeanPath, and they have, I know other people on the line probably use them as well, but they have a whole system set up for capturing food waste before it starts at the source. So you can figure out what you bring in, and then once the food waste is created, you can take a picture and say, I have this much left over. Here's what I'm going to do with it. But it allows you to track it in real time, what you're doing. And it's fascinating. A lot of people who use it realize they were wasting so much more than they thought, and it really helps them get on the path to move forward. And then at the bottom, you can see for the smaller independent restaurants, they're coming out with an app for iPads and other kinds of tablets called Mobile 360, so that you can do the same sort of tracking with them. And then lastly, I just want to let you know the Food Waste Reduction Alliance is coming out with a new assessment report. It's going to be an analysis from our three industries of what's going on in the industry. How much are we donating? How much are we recycling, composting, things like that, and then talks about some of the barriers in our industry. That will probably be out soon, within the next couple of weeks, and that was done by the Business for Social Responsibility. It's actually our second iteration of this survey and assessment report, and it's the first time it includes restaurants, so we're very happy about that. And this is just my contact information if anyone has any specific restaurant questions. Jeff Clark is our Conserve program director, and he specifically works on the Conserve program. I kind of head up everything within sustainability.